Welcome back, wrestling fans, to the Mount Rushmore Wrestling Podcast. It is episode 40. 40 episodes in the books for us. We are doing our Money in the Bank predictions today on our show. We'll have some news in the On This Day, but how are we feeling going into Money in the Bank, gentlemen? We are just off the back of Forbidden Door, which I heard on Dynamite last night was one of the best pay-per-views ever. I don't know about that, Tony Schiavone, but it was pretty good. Yeah, how are we doing?
Very
Pretty.
good. Very excited for a Money in the Bank pay per view this weekend. I think this was one of the tougher cards to pick. I will say that there's some very tough matches on this card, but I think it's going to be a great show. For what Tony Schiavone said, this was, I think, one of the worst AEW pay per views, but I digress. We're not talking AEW, we're talking Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I'm very looking forward to this Money in the Bank card. Yeah, like Chris said, this is one of the toughest ones, especially the main event pick. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what all three of us are coming up with on that one. And Tony Schiavone, yeah, I mean, AEW biasness, apparently, so I expect nothing less.
Listen, it was plenty good enough and had a good couple matches. So let's go to Chris. He has the On This Day today, and then we'll hop into some news.
All right, so we're going to bring it back to June 29th of 2008. We have a Night of Champions. So, Night of Champions was this night. And interesting enough, Night of Champions this night, every match was almost an inter-promotional match, which is extremely interesting. So I'll just ramble off some of the matches. There were only 9 of them. So, tag team match for the WWE Tag Team Championships. Morrison and Miz defeated Finlay and Hornswoggle. You had Matt Hardy defeating Chavo for the U.S. Championship. You have a triple threat match for the ECW Championship. Mark Henry defeats Kane and Big Show. You had, I don't know who Hardcore Holly's tag team partner was this night because it says Cody Rhodes, but it was Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes defeating Hardcore Holly and whoever the hell his tag team partner was for the World Tag Team Championships. That was 2 minutes.
Interesting.
Cody Rhodes has come a long way, clearly. And then we had a Intercontinental Championship match between Kofi Kingston defeating Chris Jericho. And Lance Cade was with Chris Jericho for some reason. I don't know why. Don't ask.
Interesting pairing.
Mickey James defeating Katie Lee for the Women's Championship. Katie Lee was with Paul Burchill. And then the 2 main event matches. The World Heavyweight Championship was Edge defeating Batista. And then the main event was the WWE Championship, which was Triple H defeating John Cena. So,
yes.
Yeah, that was a terrible Night of Champions.
Good title matches, but yeah, that's quite interesting.
There was 2 title changes. Only 2 titles changed hands that night. It was Kofi winning the Intercontinental title, and then Mark Henry winning the ECW Championship. Kane had the ECW Championship going in. So
Kane, Mark Henry, and maybe Big Show all had the ECW Championship back then at one point, I think.
Yep. It's interesting because Kane was representing ECW, and then Mark Henry was like SmackDown, and Big Show was Raw, or something like that. It was really weird how every match was inter-promotional.
That's like us trying to do a Survivor Series gimmick, but not.
Right, exactly.
A lot of big guys. We probably actually won the belt, too.
Yeah, ECW was all big guys that held the title, other than like Matt Hardy and I think
the genetic jackhammer won it.
Okay, let's go into the news. Couple things here. This is more of an exciting announcement for us. Blood and Guts got announced last night for July 19th. It's actually going to be in Boston, Massachusetts, at the TD Garden. So Chris and I will actually be in attendance for that show. And I'm pretty excited. We obviously thought we were just going to be a regular episode of Dynamite. So what factors into here is at least we'll be able to see like the Elite and the BCC. The Elite, I don't think we saw it all last time we were there. And so that's a positive thing. And we'll see. Eddie Kingston is also in the G1 Climax that same night, so he is not going to be in the Blood and Guts match, which is another relief. So, so that was cool. So I looked that up. So that's pretty exciting. So Blood and Guts is July 19th. They're going to be building towards that, I'm guessing, at this point. And then the next piece of news, shifting away from AEW, NXT this week, we did see the return, kind of Baron Corbin as the Lone Wolf. That was part of his gimmick, at least like in his Titantron, and I think it's part of his gear as well. The song was not the same, which I was obviously disappointed in. That was one of the best songs. Was it his original song for the Lone Wolf? I don't think it was.
I don't think it was
I
either.
don't think so.
I was hoping that he would come back with the original Lone Wolf song, but we'll see. On main roster, we'll see what happens. But, so I just want to, we've been talking about Baron Corbin for a while, so my hope is this kind of elevates him a little bit on the main roster to get back to that character. And we're able to see him progress kind of as a superstar as well. Because I will still bank on the fact that his moveset is still very good, and he's a very good wrestler. So, and he does have some charisma. It's not like he's an idiot in there. So
Right.
we'll see. We'll see what happens with Corbin. But I just wanted to say that too. It was really cool to see the Lone Wolf, and they had a good match. Him and Carmelo had a good match this week on NXT. And then the last thing I want to bring up is going back to AEW quickly. Is Bryan Danielson's injury seems to be? I know Brie Garcia now, but Brie Bella for former purposes. His wife said that the injury was a little bit worse, and she showed a picture of it. It was like it looked like a clean break, I'm pretty sure. So my hope is that he's still ready in those 8 weeks. We'll see what that means. Maybe it's more of a 7 or 8 week injury instead of a 6 week recovery time. But just to keep you updated on that as well. We're not going to spend really much time talking about anything else. For news, we're just going to kind of hop into our predictions because we have a lot to talk about for Money in the Bank. So as you all know, we did a prediction show last week, but just in case this is your first time watching, and before we get into it too, updates on the score, but I also want to shout out some folks that have been following us, and we've been getting some interaction on Instagram and some comments, and we really appreciate the love and support that we've been getting, so much appreciated. Shout out to those that are watching the podcast and listening. The score update for the game is 5 for me, 3 for Sean, and 2 for Chris, I believe is where we're at, because Sean and I tied the last time. So, Money in the Bank. We are going to go over the 7 matches. We will give numbers 1 through 7. 7 being our most confident, 1 being our least confident. So, in terms of the match card, we'll kind of go through the matches one by one, and we will each give our explanation of why. There's a lot to talk about for some of these matches as well. So we'll kind of jump through the order. Do we have a specific match we want to start, gentlemen? Or do you want me to just go down the list?
Definitely save the main event for last.
I was going to say, any matches main event last.
Okay, perfect. So the first match, let's go through is Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez for the Women's Tag Team Championships. So, champions Ronda and Shayna, they just unified the titles with the returning Liv from injury. Remember, obviously, they didn't lose the titles, technically. I still don't think that they're getting the titles back, so I just don't see how you put the titles on Ronda and have her lose so quickly. And I think there was some rumors as well that she's going to go down to NXT, and I think her and Shayna will go down to NXT to defend the titles. So for me, I'm going to pick Ronda and Shayna, and I'm actually, because I wasn't as confident in other matches, I put a 5 on this match. It was tough because I think some of these matches are very hard to predict, so putting the numbers was a little bit tricky for me on this one.
I literally have the same exact result. Ronda and Shayna for 5. I think this was kind of an easy pick for me. I'm with you. I don't see Ronda and Shayna losing them this quick. And personally, I like that Liv returned, obviously. I think that Liv and Raquel as a tag team just need to split. I think one of them, specifically Raquel, needs to turn heel. I think that would set up a good feud between the two of them because they're both good. So why not put them in a singles feud together? I think that would make for a good women's single feud away from a championship.
That's a great point.
So I think I could see that happening down the line. So based off that, I don't see Ronda and Shayna losing already. Their title run, I think, will last honestly into later this year, into the winter even. So I'm going Ronda and Shayna for 5.
I also have Ronda and Shayna for 5.
Clean sweep.
Yeah, this one was a very easy pick for me, considering that Ronda and Shayna, like you guys mentioned, they just won the belts fairly recently, so they're not going to have Ronda Rousey go out there and promote those belts and the importance of them just for them to lose their title reign just like that. And then going to Liv and Raquel, I do agree that they definitely need to split because as well as their in work is together, they do have good chemistry in the ring, but as far as like the promos and the story, like it's just not there for me. It's very stale. It kind of makes me very sleepy when I watch them cut a promo together. I think they need to split off together. Raquel can either do babyface or go heel because I think she is a future star in this company if they build her correctly. And obviously, I'm a big Liv Morgan fan. I think she's also good on her own, even though she just won like the world championship fairly recently. I know she didn't have a good title run, but I do think she is better on her own because she has a great character, and like maybe who knows down the line we could see her and Bray Wyatt together. But yeah, this one was a fairly easy one, so Ronda and Shayna for 5.
The next match we'll go to, Sean, and I'll go to you first. Let's do Gunther versus Matt Riddle for the Intercontinental Championship.
So this was my most confident pick. I got Gunther for 7, and it's honestly for the sake of, WWE loves their record-breaking stats. So Honky Tonk Man has the IC record. Gunther is the biggest star that's ever held the belt. They're going to continue that. Riddle's going to be the toughest challenge for Riddle. Riddle's going to be the toughest challenge for Gunther. So that's going to be – I like what they're doing with that. They're giving Gunther, very formidable opponents. Like, even Ali, even though they don't build him correctly, but his in-ring talent game is, through the charts when you see them perform. And Riddle is one of the best wrestlers going in the company, even though his character, I view, is very stale. But they've been a part of something pretty good with, Imperium attacking him, his ankle and his leg. That thing has been working pretty well. I think it's going to be very close. I also do believe that we are going to have a returning Randy Orton get involved in this. I think Orton turns heel, and I think that sets up the feud for them. And so, yeah, Gunther for 7.
Yep, Gunther for 7. This is an absolute lock. He's not losing the championship to Matt Riddle on this night. Like Sean said, Matt Riddle's character is stale. I do think it's going to be a very good match, though. Because I do like Riddle in ring. He has a different moveset than a lot of people, and I think that's going to mesh with Gunther as well because Gunther can go with anybody. I don't necessarily think this is his toughest opponent yet for the championship. I just think back to Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. I mean, that was a classic, and I think most people thought Sheamus was going to win that match. So this is an extremely easy pick. I think Gunther has been probably all of our most confidence since WrestleMania on every single card we've done. So nothing changes here. Gunther for 7.
Yep, make it a three-peat. Gunther for 7, nothing changes. He is my most confident pick to break another record. Like Sean said, that is what gets WWE off these days, is beating records that they've set many years ago. They've done it with Roman Reigns. They're going to do it with Gunther, so I would just not pick against him until he breaks the record. And I think the right person could be Sheamus, it could be LA Knight, could be someone in the future breaking that record, but who knows? We'll kind of see what happens from there. The next match we will go over is Cody Rhodes and Dominic Mysterio. This was a difficult one for me as well. What I say to myself in this prediction is I just don't fucking see how they can have Dominic Mysterio beat Cody Rhodes. Clean, not clean, with Brock Lesnar involved. I just don't think Brock Lesnar would screw Cody Rhodes out of a win. I think what's going to happen is Cody is going to win, and Brock is going to destroy him after the match. and then he's gonna literally just destroy him for like, I don't know, 5 minutes and just beat him up throughout the whole place, throw him through the probably announce table or something. Uh, so for me, I have Cody and I have him for 2. I'm still not confident, obviously. Um, but I just don't see how the other thing that I thought about, and this is why I only had a 2 on it, is if Dominic wins this match, you will never fucking hear the end of him beating Cody Rhodes. Like, he will use this for however long he probably wrestles. Because if Cody does eventually become champion, Dominic will be probably first in line and be like, "Well, I beat you at Money in the Bank." So
Jeremy,
you
let's
never know.
instead of dead beat dead, his new quote was "I beat Cody." That is exactly what he was.
And I think that would do a lot more for his character if he did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would get him even more heat using
It-
that
it
every
would.
single week.
it would. I still don't see it happening, so I went with Cody Rhodes for 2. But I would not be shocked, obviously, if Dominic were to somehow win. The only way he wins is if Brock Lesnar gets involved during the match.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said, even though up to this point I've been saying Dominic's going to win. Dominic's going to win. I've switched at the last second. I have Cody for 2 as well. I like, guys, we're picking the same card here.
Yeah, let's
Um,
go on.
But I'm with you. I don't see Brock Lesnar coming out during this match. I don't even know if necessarily he's going to come out after. I know he's confirmed for Raw, so maybe they wait till Monday Night Raw to do it. I don't know. But I'm with you. I just don't see Dominic Mysterio beating Cody Rhodes, whether there's interference or not. Cody's not going to take a loss here. He just took a loss 2 months ago. Cody, I mean, if they want to continue to build him to be the one to beat Roman, you're not going to have a blemish on his resume losing to Dominic Mysterio, whether Brock Lesnar comes out and screws him or not, or Rhea Ripley ringside, whatever it is. It's just not going to happen. So I'm not very confident either, though. That's why I picked a 2 on it, but I just can't wrap my head around seeing Dominic Mysterio with his hand raised at the end of the night. Well, not the end of the night, midway through the night. But
I gave you
I got Cody.
the formula, though. That is the
Right.
formula. If he does win, it does
That
make
is.
sense.
No, that absolutely.
So I agree with you guys. I picked Cody, but I picked Cody for 4. So
Oh,
I
wow.
so I swapped my pick originally. I was leaning towards Dominic, but then this episode of Raw absolutely confirmed why I'm going Cody here. I look at it like this. For starters, Dominic has dominated the entire build-up. Cody hasn't had a single ounce of offense in, besides verbally. Dominic took 3 cheap shots on Cody, smack after smack after smack. Cody has had 0 offense in, and this just solidifies that he's going to go in there and destroy this kid. So I agree also that taking a loss to Dominic is a huge blemish. Like you said, Chris, you cannot have him going into Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40, which is, we all assume what's going to happen. The only guy that he ever took a loss to outside of Roman was Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar is a credible opponent. And he got a victory when Cody had a kayfabe broken arm. So you can't have Dominic go in there and beat like the future face of the company. I just don't see it happening. And Jeremy, I agree with you 100% that I think what's exactly going to happen is Cody's going to get a clean victory on Dominic. Rhea might get involved somehow, but she's going to fail. And then I think Brock just goes out there and just beats the piss out of him for like 3 to 5 minutes. And then he shows up on Raw, and then they get the challenge for SummerSlam underway.
Yeah, and the fact that you said that kayfabe injury, I do want to just point out, Cody was really selling his kayfabe injury because he was down in Miami for Brandy's birthday.
I saw that.
Instagram picture, and he's
Oh,
wearing the
yes.
fucking cast.
Yep.
I was
Yeah,
like,
the
this guy's fucking committed, man. Oh, it had me dying.
Cody's
All
the
right,
man.
Next match we will go through is we'll do the women's Money in the Bank, and Sean, we'll go to you first. So we did do a breakdown. I don't know what was it 2 weeks ago, but the people in the match: Zelina Vega, Becky Lynch, Zoe Stark, Bailey, Io Sky, and Trish Stratus. Trish Stratus was the TBD, by the way, for everyone talking about our earlier predictions.
I'm gonna stick with EO for 2. I'm not very confident because there are a lot of routes they could go here, especially with the reports that there's supposed to be a huge upset. And if this is the match, I can see Vince going giving it right to Trish Stratus and everything. But I am still sticking with EO for high hopes that they're gonna stick with it. Becky, after on Monday at Raw, she doesn't have a chance in hell of winning this because she was the last woman on that ladder. She's out. I think she's gonna end up brawling with either Trish or Zoe Stark, where there's gonna be like those two are gonna be eliminated outside the ring. You probably go into the backstage area, and then I believe that Io is gonna somehow make a way. There's gonna be some controversy with her and Bailey, like probably them two fighting over it. But I do see her and like Zelina Vega being the last two up there, and Io doing some crazy move to get her out of there and grabbing that briefcase. Not confident, but Io for two.
Yeah, this was a tough one, but I'm sticking with EO as well for 3. The only two people who I can see this going to is EO or Bailey, and I think it's going to come down to them being in the ring together and EO getting one up on Bailey. I do think that Zoe and Trish are going to do whatever it takes to make sure Becky does not win this match. But Sean, like you said, if there is an upset, it's going to be Trish Stratus winning this match, which I never thought that I would say. Trish Stratus is going to win a Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
But based off storylines and like how she's on Raw every single week, I could see them go that way too. Strictly based off the fact that Io Sky is not going to be able to cut promos, just like Asuka can't cut promos. That's why I don't know if they're completely sold on giving her that Money in the Bank right now.
That's why you give it to Charlotte first.
True. But that is why I'm going to stick with her. I just think she has the most potential because, I mean, to win a championship, we've already seen Becky win titles, Trish, Bailey, Zoe Stark isn't ready yet. Zelina Vega, I didn't even mention her because she's great. I think she's good in the ring, but she's just not championship material. So I think EO is the only formidable option right now. So I'm sticking EO for 3.
I have EO for 4.
Ooh.
I think that they really want that match between Io and Asuka, and I think this is also how they kind of get to that point as well. The other piece of this is, I think obviously Becky is out, and I think Becky is out because Trish and Zoe Stark take her out, as we all have said. The problem with a big upset that scares me about this match is Zoe Stark winning this match and then either keeping the briefcase or giving it to Trish because she's like her mentor or whatever. The other part of the upset is the match we just talked about. So if Dominic is the upset for beating Cody, they better fucking run. But yeah, yep. I think Io wins this match. I think she's also the only logical choice. The problem with Money in the Bank that I have, though, is predicting these Money in the Banks. I'm pretty sure, like a couple of years ago, what was it? Was it 2020 or 2019? When everyone thought Aleister Black was going to win the Money in the Bank. And who won Money in the Bank that year? Fucking Otis won Money in the Bank. I think about matches like that, and it's very hard to predict because they could just throw a fucking curveball. And I think the men's one is very hard to predict, and I think we're going to be disappointed with who wins. Because I think all of us like understand why probably those 3 people could win. But I'll save that for when we get to that match. So I have EO for 4. The next match we'll go over would be Seth Rollins against Finn Balor Seth freaking Rollins versus Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight Championship. A lot of good story here, and I think this match will be great. You know, this story leads all the way back to when Finn Balor first won the Universal Championship and had to relinquish the belt after getting injured on a buckle bomb outside. Hint, hint, I'm pretty sure they're going to probably fucking do a buckle bomb outside in this match. It'll be very interesting, but I think they will do it. And I think they'll both be scared to do it, but I'm pretty sure they're going to do it. I see Seth retaining. I don't see Finn taking the title from him, and I don't think he should. Quite frankly, I have Seth Rollins for 6. This is my second confident match. It's just too early to take the title off of Seth. But what I will predict is I do think Drew McIntyre does come back and start his feud with Seth Rollins this evening. I think we're in for a few surprises at Money in the Bank, and I think they want to bring a lot of surprises to the London crowd and the O2 Arena. And I think Drew McIntyre coming back is one of them. Not that he's like a huge surprise, but he has been out since WrestleMania. And I think we're going to see heel Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, this is also my second most confident with Seth for 6 as well. Like you said, it's just too early. They just introduced this new World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins, who's been at the top of his game now for like 3 years and so over with the crowd, and the Seth freaking Rollins gimmick is just so good, and he's not going to lose the title 2 months into his championship reign, or even 1 month in, whatever it is. I will say this is going to be a fantastic match, and I think this is the best that Finn Balor has been booked since he made his main roster debut in 2017.
Very true.
So, I mean, I'm very happy for him as well, because he's only getting older, so who knows how much time he has left too. So I'm extremely happy with the way that Finn's been booked. I do like the way that this feud has been booked, even going down to NXT and having Finn come attack Seth on NXT. I think it's been great. It's going to be a good match. I know it's a very predictable outcome, but I'm still okay with the match happening. So I'm with Seth for 6. Like Jeremy said, Drew McIntyre is a big prediction for him coming back this night, and he needs to be a heel. I've been saying that for months. We all have been saying that for months, that Drew needs to go back to being a heel. Go back to that Scottish psychopath. So I'm all for a Seth and Drew McIntyre feud going forward for the next few months after this. So Seth for 6, he's retaining, he's not losing.
Yeah, I agree, guys. Seth for 6, and that one was a no-brainer. Finn Balor has looked phenomenal. I've been loving this story. This is the second best storyline going currently outside the Bloodline. Finn Balor is showing a whole new, aggressive demon side to him, no pun intended. And I just love to see it, because I love how they were playing back to the whole injury spot back many years ago. And I just love this new side of him. He's attacking Seth after the Braun Breaker match. He pretty much he beat the hell out of Seth the whole entire build-up for the past month. And Seth's only had the belt for about a month and a half or so, maybe 2 months. It's too early for him to lose it, and there's many storylines down for him down the line to have a lot of great feuds. And yeah, so this one should be a great match. I can also see McIntyre coming out at the end of it, or maybe he does it during the match. Who knows if it ends in a DQ or not. But yeah, this one is a no-brainer. Seth for 6.
All right, Sean, we're going to go back to you. Men's Money in the Bank. So we have Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, LA Knight, Santos Escobar, Butch, Damian Priest, and Logan Paul.
All right, I'm going to stick with LA Knight for 3. Logan Paul being in the matchup, I did not get swayed by it because of the fact that I think he's mostly there because of all the talk of the lack of stars. And Logan Paul, obviously, we all know, is one of the biggest stars in the world. And not to mention, the guy can go. He's an all-around athlete. Bringing him into the match is going to bring a lot of spark. You're going to see a lot of high-flying ability. You're probably going to see that Ricochet spot, part 2, like we saw before. He's strictly there, and he's a part-timer, so I don't see how you can give a guy a part-timer Money in the Bank just to have the title, or if you do that, have an unsuccessful cash-in. I just don't see that happening. The other guys, the only other viable one is Damian Priest, and I don't see how that happens right at this moment because of the fact that, he's already going to be feuding with Finn down the line. There have been teases of that going on, so before he gets that, any Money in the Bank briefcase, I don't see how, it really plays into the storyline. I can see Finn Balor being pissed off. I can see the Finn and Seth Rollins match happening before the men's Money in the Bank, him being pissed off about it, and then he takes it out on Damian Priest and costs him the opportunity. And then the biggest guy right now who's over with everybody, LA Knight, takes advantage, gets that briefcase, and however he does with it, whether he cashes in on a mid-card title, which I'm praying does not happen, but who knows with how WWE books things. I want to see him cash in on Seth at some point and then Seth get the title back down the line, because I do want to see him. You know how I feel about the Money in the Bank briefcase. It's more valuable when you take it from a world champion rather than a mid-carder, but that's just me. So yeah, LA Knight for 3.
I am also sticking with LA Knight as well. I have him for 4 actually. But I'll tell you this, it's not a confident 4. I just had nowhere else to put these numbers because it's such a hard card to pick. Um, Logan Paul being in the match scares me. I will say that. I I don't think it would make sense for him to win because he was just given a championship match last year with Roman. So, and that came out of nowhere. So, but something that does intrigue me is that he is a part timer. So when he does cash in, you would not be expecting it because he's not around full time. So that part does intrigue me. But personally, I would like to see a Money in the Bank on somebody who is around weekly television. Um, and I'm with you, Sean. I think it should be on a world championship, but I think they have backed themselves into a corner right now because of how good Roman has been. Obviously, he's the longest reigning champ right now with the bloodline. And Seth Rollins just winning the new World Heavyweight Championship and then possibly trying to save Seth versus Gunther. They've really backed themselves into a corner where nobody's going to be able to cash in on either world champion right now. Um, but somebody else who does scare me, I mean, also is Damian Priest. I think he's another one who is definitely an option to win this match just based off what's going on with Judgment Day. He could get a championship match against Seth Rollins at some point, him and Finn feuding together. Um, that really intrigues me as well. But I just think LA Knight makes the most sense, even if it is to cash in on a Austin Theory or even a Gunther after Gunther breaks the record. Um, so LA Knight to me makes the most sense, especially for a mid card championship right now.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go LA Knight for 4. It's not a confident 4 though. I'll say that.
So this is what I was talking about when I said upset slash them booking Money in the Bank. So Damian Priest, in my opinion, there's 3 people that can win this match. Damian Priest is the first, and I think Damian Priest can win this match to escalate the feud and the tension between the Judgment Day and spark his exit of the Judgment Day in favor of JD McDonough. I think Logan Paul can win this match because WWE loves stars and they love publicity and they love getting their name out there even more than it already is. And Logan Paul will do that for them. When he's on his podcast and he has the Money in the Bank briefcase behind him on every show, that is something that you have to think about. And then LA Knight could win. It seems like LA Knight is the fan choice, the most logical choice, and what the fans want the most. I did stick with LA Knight for 1. I am least confident of least confident in this pick. I think this is going to tell you who's really in charge. So the rumor today was if Logan Paul wins the match, it's Vince's call. If LA Knight wins the match, it's LA Knight or Damian Priest, I'm guessing. It's Triple H. So if Logan Paul wins the match, Vince still has the say. So if he wins, it wasn't Triple H, in my opinion, that booked that. So this will tell me everything that I need to know about the current state of what creative is like. Is Triple H actually fully in charge? It's a shame that we still have to ask this. But Vince is tearing up scripts still every week and changing things remotely, whatever the fuck he's doing. And this match is the one that I wondered to myself, am I going to do what I did a few years ago and pick Aleister Black to win? And I thought it was clear cut that he should have won. And he was the fan choice and he was the smart choice. That's LA Knight right now. Mm-hmm. So for me, I did pick LA Knight for 1, and maybe that's just a heart over head decision. I really wanted to pick Logan Paul, but I went with LA Knight for 1. So that's where I'll leave that. But I just think that this match is going to cause the most controversy, I think, amongst fans and spectators and probably people in the back and all the wrestlers. So it's going to be very interesting for me on who wins this.
Jeremy, before you go to the main event, did you guys see that recently LA Knight mentioned that Triple H saved him from getting fired from WWE?
I did
So
see that. Yeah.
I think that's very interesting. This match is gonna tell you everything I need to know, like you said, about who's running the show. If LA Knight does not get this push, clearly Vince McMahon is running the show. Because if you already try to get rid of this guy, what makes you think that you're gonna put your ego and pride aside and have him go over and win Money in the Briefcase? So I'll leave it at
I
that.
mean, LA Knight is 1,000 times better than Braun Strowman will ever be, but it reminds me of when Braun Strowman was over and they just never pulled the trigger with him.
Yeah, big mess up.
The thing is, they also didn't plan for LA Knight to be over in his current character because he's supposed to be portrayed as a heel. And I think that frustrates them, as it usually does, to say their heels are not, they're getting cheered. That's going to happen when they want to create a star and they really get behind people like that. You know, when the crowd gets behind someone, they're like Kofi, like Daniel Bryan, like all these guys that they've got behind, they've tried to will someone to a championship. And I don't know if they can do that with LA Knight, but we will see. We will see on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, so the main event, the creme de la creme, the Bloodline Civil War, Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa against the Usos. Finally, we have the eruption, culmination of the Usos splitting from the Bloodline. And we have Roman Reigns again with the titles in a non-title match. I don't know when that'll change, so we'll see what happens. But this tag match and story should be absolutely fucking fantastic. As Sean said to us many times, right now they're working on multiple endings. They seem to have a few things, decisions to make before the actual event itself. I'm sure they've made them by today, but they were thinking about which way it was going to go. For me, what it comes down to is I just don't see Roman Reigns losing to the Usos. So, I did the unthinkable, and I picked Roman and Solo, and I picked them for 3. Having the Usos win, first of all, if I'm booking it, I'm having that. I would have the Usos go over here. I just don't think that they want the Usos to go over. I think they still want to have Roman as that be-all, end-all person. It doesn't even matter. And Solo's booked very highly as well, but I don't think Solo matters in this equation at all. I think it's just about Roman, and I think he wins. I think he ends up pinning Jimmy, maybe. I don't think Solo pins anyone. I think it'll be Roman, and I think he'll be pinning Jimmy for the win. I do think the payoff match at SummerSlam will be Jay and Roman. Don't quote me on that, but that is what I think will come out of this. And I don't really know what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a wild match, and I think there's going to be something that no one can really predict. I think it'll be very unpredictable, especially the ending.
Yeah, this was a really tough one. Like you said, if you're booking it, you're probably going to book it a completely different way. But I'm going with Roman and Solo. I think exactly what Roman said after Night of Champions, the SmackDown after Night of Champions to Paul Heyman, is Jay's going to fall in line. I think they're going to fall in line with a loss to Roman and Solo on this night. And what's interesting to me is, like, if I was booking it, honestly, I would probably have Solo pin somebody because I would like to see singles matches between Roman and Jimmy, Roman and Jay, maybe even non-title on SmackDown or something like that. I would like to see just singles matches between them. And I think having Solo beat them could be their reason to be like, well, listen, Roman, you had Solo do it. You didn't do it yourself. Continue the feud that way. The feud's not going to be over for a while. I still don't see it ending anytime soon, to be honest. But I just think it sucks because the Usos have been losing a lot lately in tag matches, which is why I would want to pick them, because I think they deserve a win, but it's not going to be at the cost of Roman and Solo. I just hate to say it. Roman's too much of the X factor, and he's not going to be the one to lose 2 pay-per-views in a row. It's just not going to happen, especially with Solo by his side. Because I think if the Usos did win this match, I think that the feud would somewhat be over at that point. And I just don't see that happening. So I got Roman and Solo for 1.
This was a very, very complicated pick. I went back and forth on this one, but I am sticking with Roman and Solo, and I put a 1 on this one, my least confident pick. Like you guys said, I just don't see Roman being a part of any loss. I understand like he technically has a loss like as far as a tag team when Solo ate the pinfall. I do not see Roman having a back-to-back loss type of night. And I also do not see Solo having pinned back-to-back nights. I just don't see it. I think Solo and Roman both are going to shine in this night. There's going to be a lot of chaos. I can see a lot of people I can see Roman bringing along somebody to kind of plant seeds for the new bloodline. I can also see someone like doing a one-off. I can see Rikishi coming out and doing some chaotic thing. Just because of how chaotic this story is and how amazing it is, I can honestly see people, whether they're older, out of their prime, or just up and coming, get involved in this storyline because of how deep that bloodline runs. And like you said, I believe Cody Rhodes should not take any losses going forward until Mania 40. The same thing with Roman Reigns. Roman should stay unblemished. I think Roman pins Jimmy. And then I think there's going to be some tension with Jay and Jimmy, like on the following SmackDowns, deciding, oh, I want to challenge the Tribal Chief. I think Jay's going to be like, well, Roman just pinned you. He's like, yeah, we lost, but I didn't suffer the pinfall. I never got pinned. That is how I think we get Jay and Roman at SummerSlam. So Solo and Roman for 1. But my God, this is going to be an amazing match. I'll tell you that right now.
Do you think with Jimmy and Jay possibly arguing over who should face Roman, we get Jimmy versus Jay on a SmackDown for a number 1 contender match?
I don't see that.
No.
I don't see it.
I also posed the question at some point. Eventually, if we think this is like further down the line, if we think Solo is also going to break from Roman, do we get a Bloodline Fatal 4-Way match at a pay-per-view? Because that would be wild.
That would be fantastic.
Like, thinking about, like, if we get that at Survivor Series in November, that could be something that, really, really hits home with folks. And, I mean, what pay-per-views do we have between that?
And you think Solo and Roman are going to split fairly recent?
I mean, so right now we're at Money in the Bank, right? So we still have SummerSlam. What is it? SummerSlam and then Payback is in September.
Yeah, I think Survivor
Series is in November. There'll be one more in October. Usually, isn't that TLC?
Yes, I think so. Something. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
TLC.
I don't
TLC
think they
might
announced.
be December.
Payback's definitely first before it was. Yep.
They also haven't announced the official, like, what the matches, what the pay-per-view is going to be for, Fastlane.
Oh, that's right.
Fastlane is October 7th. And then potentially 2 pay-per-views in November. Crown Jewel and
Crown Jewel.
And
Yeah,
War Games, Survivor Series. If they do War Games again.
Let me tell you this. I think, I'll do a little sneak preview. I do not think Roman and Solo are going to have any controversy. I think Solo turns on Roman at WrestleMania. I think what happened, how Roman got protected from Solo to go over on Cody to win the belt, I think he does the exact polar opposite. I think he delivers that Samoan spike to Roman, and that is how Cody finishes his story. So I think...
I personally would book it. You have that Fatal 4-Way match, and Roman fucking rolls all 3 of them up and pins them. Like
Stack.
he did fucking Daniel Bryan and Edge.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that would be insane.
Could you imagine?
Listen, I'm thinking about the booking in my head, and I'm like, if I book that shit would be wild.
I love the way you book, pal.
I don't know. listen, and I also think a Bloodline Fatal 4-Way match would be a huge main event to a pay per view.
I can see that happening outside WrestleMania. I can see that whenever Roman takes his hiatus or break, I can definitely see that match happening after WrestleMania. But who knows? It could be before.
I think it should be for the championship, to be honest.
That's what I mean. I think it'll be.
I don't think it means as much. It doesn't mean as much if it's not for the title.
Maybe it's at Survivor Series. Maybe it's at Royal Rumble. Who knows?
Yeah.
It'd be wild, but I think it could happen. And I'd be for it happening, honestly. It'd be a great match.
What do you guys think is going to be? What do you guys think is going to be like the War Games match for Survivor Series? Judgment Day?
Judgment Day is like a prime example of who I think it could be. Yes. They could also like come up with a storyline that it's like they pick like 5 people against 5 people. Like what they would normally do for like a Survivor Series match, they could do that in War Games.
I saw Triple H. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say if it was 2 months ago, and you're doing 2 War Games matches, I wouldn't mind Judgment Day versus LWO as one of them, because they had a feud going on. They had a good feud, but that's not gonna go till November. So
that's true. They could also just like I said, they could build something up.
Yeah,
I saw Triple H want to do SmackDown versus Raw, then also have NXT involved again. That'd be pretty cool to see, because they got so much talent in NXT. They can insert them in any lineup, and then whatever.
As long as it's storyline driven, I'm okay with it. If it's like Forbidden Door, where it's just random stuff like it's been for 10 years now, I'm not okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want them to get away from Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT. I want them to just do their traditional create storylines and have them as a 4v4 or a 5v5 in War Games.
By the way, can we talk about how the fans are crazy for criticizing Carmelo Hayes' debut loss? People are making a big deal about it. It's like, dude, you're not going to have the number 1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship lose to an NXT up-and-comer. People need to, like, some of the people on Twitter are just going crazy over then, like, podcasts saying, oh, yeah, he's buried, Carmelo Hayes is buried. It's like, dude, this loss was very good for him. It's over that he went up against Finn Balor, one of the top guys in the company, and it just showcased his talent. So he can only go up from there. That's just my opinion.
I wish they put him against someone else because I don't think he should have lost in his debut. That's just me, and that's probably what people are saying. But I also don't think it's a bad loss that he lost to Finn, because you also can't, like you said, you can't have Finn lose going into a title match.
Yep.
Right. I will say this before we exit. I want to hear your guys' take on it. I am like very upset with Austin Theory not being on Night of Champions or Money in the Bank, and his last title defense on a pay-per-view was a 6-minute triple threat match. I am extremely upset neither women's championship match is on the line, and I am extremely upset Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are not on the match card as well.
Yep.
That's my take. I am upset that these people are not on the card.
Austin,
go ahead, you first.
All right, so starting with the women, I think honestly, and it's sad to say, and obviously not her fault because like the lack of English, but I honestly believe that the last 2 pay-per-views where there's been a lack of a build was a key influencer of why she's not on the card, and they're basically just doing it for SmackDown this up Friday. Austin Theory, yeah, I second that. I am very disappointed that they're not, because that kid is so talented on every single level, and to not have him a part of this card and to have that triple threat, the last one be 6 minutes, is absolutely a shame because of his talent, what he could be. And then Sammy and KO, whether you just do like Logan Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci, like even though we saw like Imperium like take L's already, but it doesn't matter. They're still a part of one of the best top tier factions in the company. Throw them on the card. It doesn't have to be a long match. Give them 10 minutes. Yeah, so I agree that it's a problem.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are not featured on this card. I think that is also the problem when you want. What people are, loving the fact that they're getting 6 or 7 matches on a pay-per-view and there's longer matches. Sometimes it seems like 7 is like their cap right now on pay-per-views. having eight or nine matches is not a bad thing either. Especially if you're getting done still early, because it's not like they go for like 3 hours now. Like they're strict
Right.
on like 3 hours and they're fucking done.
Yeah.
So for me, it's guys like Austin Theory especially, and your tag champions and all your women's champions. Yeah, not great. Also, Bobby Lashley, is he hurt or is he
I don't know.
just laying in the weeds as well?
I think he might be hurt because there is no explanation of how you keep him like out of like the show. That makes no sense to me unless he has to have like a nagging injury that's like undisclosed.
To be fair, he's been out of the show since before WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It seems like a lot of people aren't getting as featured as they used to. I don't know
Yeah.
what that's about, but yeah, your
you
main
think-
title should be on the card.
Do you guys think that they should go back to brand split pay-per-views to get more people on cards? Because I personally think that they should.
I would
But-
be for it.
The only problem with that is pay-per-views that do not have Roman Reigns
I was about to say that. No bloodline.
are
Gonna take it.
probably going to be lacking. You can kind of hide that with both together by having Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, whoever else. But if there's strictly a SmackDown pay-per-view with no Roman, that pay-per-view will probably be hurting a little bit.
That's true.
I think they should continue being unified, but I do believe that Triple H needs to start going. I'm not going the full Tony Khan AEW route by putting 15 matches on the card, but I think there needs to be an in-between merge of going to like maybe 8 or 9. And if you have to shorten some of the matches, that's cool because some of like the matches, even though he has shorter cards, some of them can go as long as like 30, 35 minutes with everything. And I know Triple H isn't too big a fan of that. So kind of shrink down, trim like the fat on like some of those matches, and then put some of like the Austin Theories, Bobby Lashley's, AJ Styles is even on the card, so that's very interesting. Karrion Kross nowhere to be found, and Karrion Kross they haven't really been doing much with him either, so it's definitely tough. But I would say stick with the procedure of just doing unified pay-per-views for now. But if they do want to run into a spot where talent is getting frustrated, then they might have to have Triple H pull the trigger and do SmackDown pay-per-view and a Raw pay-per-view, but we will see how that plays out.
I think it's interesting because if you're not in the main push right now, you are not on the pay-per-views, basically. And it's not always a bad thing. Of course, healthy competition is good. But when so many people are left off of a card, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be a handout, but the guys and gals we're talking about are champions. Like, Austin Theory is a U.S. champion. Your tag team champions. You only have 2 now. They're not on the card.
Yeah.
Both women's championships are not on the card. Yeah, there's definitely some things that they can do better for sure in terms of planning their pay-per-views.
I
But-
didn't even think about AJ. The man went from having a world championship match at Night of Champions to nothing on the next card.
To back in the faction,
Yeah.
and he's starting a feud with Karrion Kross now, which I mean will be good for Karrion Kross. I don't know how much it helps AJ, but we'll see. I think AJ is going to be stuck now. I don't know if he's going to get another title before he retires. I really have no idea, but we'll see. Grass isn't always greener. We'll see what happens.
I was thinking too, where do you think Becky goes from here after like the Trish Stratus feud? Do you think we just put her in the world title picture again, or do you think she just puts over like younger talent? I don't really see where she goes after this Trish Stratus thing. They're gonna milk this as long as they can.
I think she'll always be at the top of the card, no matter what she's doing. So I think she'll always be in the hunt. I don't know what type of hunt it will be, but she'll be up there. Too big of a name.
Absolutely.
I don't know what Chris is laughing at, but oh god.
I'm just thinking about Asuka over here
Oh
Mm.
god.
and how she's screwed me so many times.
Yikes.
You're gonna put a one
On
every
the
time.
cards, you don't have to pick her.
Exactly. That's the only thing I'm happy about.
If she is on the card, you're gonna do a one every time.
Of course.
There you go.
This is only till she loses the title, by the way.
hmm
Yeah, that's true.
Hopefully,
Next month.
hopefully this Friday.
So
Yeah,
next month,
hopefully you
yeah.
don't have to wait
Maybe
long.
this
Yeah.
Friday. I know. Maybe then I won't have to pick her at all.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right, everybody. We really appreciate you stopping by for the Money in the Bank prediction show. Next week we will have our review show. As always, that'll be coming out. I don't know when we're gonna record that. I have to talk to these guys about our schedules, but we may be recording early. We may be recording later. We'll kind of see what happens. But that'll be out as our first episode next week, and in the second episode we'll figure something out to do. So stay tuned. We really appreciate you all, and you all take it easy. Have a good one.